to make it better, to develop it.
Okay.
And so, to me, the most interesting, what development is about social transformation. And this was a program that to me had potential for social transformation, but obviously, like there wasn't, because people were so focused on this, like I'm gonna get my job in this bank and that's what I need to do. And there was this sense of, because of the culture of like your loyalty to your family and blah blah blah, and giving back money to your family and so on. You really, the project had not gone anywhere and not really being effective. And most importantly, you talking to a lot of young people, I realized that really they were seeing their life at a certain point just as becoming work, 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 and that was it. And they had their iPod and they had their MacBook and they, went to Starbucks, and the talent was so developed and Bangkok is so developed. But at the end of the day, like they're in the way there is something more about what it means to live well.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And sort of, I couldn't pinpoint it, but there are like these missing pieces. And when people get swallowed by the economic development, there is something that is missing, and there is something that needs to be fostered. To me, the key is in civil society engagement.
Sure.
And the idea of promoting civil society engagement, which often is very hard to make money related, which is hard to say, okay, we're promoting, it's more about caring about your community and really becoming a part of it and doing initiatives that add value to the community as a whole instead of to like economic.
Well, I think even at McGill and in Canada, that's definitely like a huge thing. I feel like a lot of people that are in school right now, like especially with the economy, they feel like huge pressure to go and get out and get a job and do this and do that, make a decent amount of money, pay back their student loans, blah blah blah. But then they're forgetting about the involvement and just enjoying life, being happy, engaging their community, meeting new people, being exposed to new ideas. I mean, as much as McGill is like an exciting academic community, I mean, I think there is that growing up pressure that's there too.
Yeah, and I think that, well, the point is you can have this. I think in Canada you have universities. I mean, if you go to Thailand, there is definitely not in the big universities there. There is nothing like there is here in terms of like as much as many initiatives that there are here. There is a lot going on. For example, at McGill or at Concordia.
Yeah.
But then the question is, what happens when you get out of college?
True, exactly. It's because for some people that's like the end. It's like, what can you do to make people continue to want to be involved and make a difference, especially as you get older in life and have more networks and can talk to more people and do more.
Yeah, and precisely what you were saying is very true. I mean, I'm 25 right now. I've seen my friends getting out of college, and I've seen people that are brilliant, that I know that have an incredible capacity to really impact this world in a positive way, being swallowed by consulting jobs that make them work 13 hours a day and not having the energy to even think what it means to be in this world and what are the problems in this world.
Exactly.
So I think that there is a sense of like, okay, college can be so exciting, but then if after that you have so much pressure that you cannot just relate to your environment, then that becomes an issue, because we also want to be able to, because the people also are out of college are the people who have the capacity, the education to make an impact.
Exactly. No, it makes complete sense. I mean, for me too, as like a business student, like I felt the exact same thing, because I mean, as soon as you get in here, people are like, you need to focus on your finance, your accounting, blah blah, and you forget. You're like, well, before I was in this, I was interested in development, I was interested in that, but there isn't ways to connect that sometimes, so you lose out on it. I mean, if you get some big consulting job at McKinsey or whatnot, like sometimes it's not about, they don't give you the opportunity to be involved in the like grassroots community work.
Or even it's something that is very sort of prepackaged and kind of fake in a way.
Like,
you become, okay, well, I work and blah blah, and I donate to an organization, but for example, but there is something beyond that. This is about changing the world, but it's not about changing the world necessarily because you are going and building a school in Africa. This is about changing the world because you are willing to change yourself and be open-minded and be participate in your community and be aware and be sensitive to what is happening around you, and not being boxed in your job that completely shadows you from everything else. This is getting too far, but
no, it makes complete sense. So moving back like more, so I was wondering did you have any mentors or like anyone that like inspired you like initially to like get started like with your project, you always said how you developed it, but was there someone like in your life that like made you really want to work hard, start your own organization?
Not really. I think there have been a lot of mentors in my life, a lot of people that have supported me, but not necessarily in the initial sparkle. Like not necessarily in. Actually, we're going through a phase right now where we're building an advisory board, and we are pretty much trying to get a lot more people to advise our work that have more experience. So far, the way has been going has been done is that the people we invite to magnify really give us good advice and really help us out. But there hasn't been so far like one or two people that have been beyond. Like there haven't been all the people that have been the masterminds or that have advised. It's been very much like young people trying to figure themselves out and and you know, I'm sure that in terms of managing our organization, we have totally reinvented the wheel, but it has been a process that allows us to understand what works and what doesn't work, and we've done it more in terms of a kind of like experimental. So it's been very much centered in figuring things out, experimenting, understanding what works and what doesn't, and reacting to that.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. But sometimes, I think sometimes, it's like different with those like questions that there's not necessarily the one thing that stands out. But I mean, if you're meeting so many youth all the time too, who like have so many different ideas and like contributions, and like it kind of like builds its own self, like manifests itself.
And building relationship with people that will give you advice is a very important thing to do, and it's something that takes time, and so that this is what we're working on actually right now in terms of building our advisory board, building meaningful relationship with people that would support us over time.
Yeah. And what do you think is your like strongest characteristic that's like made you be able to like achieve the success you have so far? Like, what's your characteristic? You know what I mean? Like, if you had to say, it's a hard question to ask because some people don't like it.
I think that I think that I see leadership in a very loose sense, first of all. Like, I'm not this like, but I see leadership as the power of making other people find out their potential.
Yeah.
And then I've been very much interacting with others, saying like, I see in you potential, and you see in me potential.
Yeah.
And we're going to support each other.
Yeah. No,
and this has made has made for a very horizontal structure in our organization where there is no power dynamic. There is not a lot of power dynamic because obviously power is connected to knowledge, and therefore there is always going to be some power dynamic because some people have more or different knowledge than others. But at the same time, that everybody in the organization can feel that their voice is heard and that their opinions matter in the final outcome, as what has kept the group together over time and what has made people attracted to our organization despite all the difficulties. And so I think that what has reflected a lot, my characteristic that has reflected a lot of in the organization is the understanding that young people that every person has a lot to offer, and that you need to figure out the match and how to
like harness that individual ability. Exactly. That's a really good quality to have, to be able to see the potential in others for sure, manage it in like a proper way. Well, thanks so much for everything. I want to talk more, but obviously you aligned to everything, and I think it's so good, and that you're like ahead with like Recur, and like it's gonna go so far. Like I think.
Let's see. That's so.
No, I mean like there's so many organizations going on, but I think the model that you have is just it's so interesting and unique, and then you can kind of like sell it in such a way that other organizations can see so much value in it. And I think that's such a good way. Because I think so many people are creating organizations now that are already doing what someone else is doing versus like being original and having your own ideas. Like what makes it possible in like a not-for-profit sector that's so difficult right now to really, really thrive in. And I think it'll make like a huge difference. So thanks so much.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm gonna turn this.
And I hope we can keep the conversation going.
Oh, for sure, definitely.